Janet McQuarrie is the email marketing strategist for Terminix. Everybody I think knows Terminix, the pest control people. She won, in fact, with this, Janet and I talked about this presentation several weeks ago because we have not done at the email summit the issue of deliverability in a while, but everybody struggles with it. And it just so happens that Janet's project in deliverability received an award, the 2019 Validity Email Hero MVP Award, and also Most Improved Email Program for her work at Terminix. She's going to walk us through the ways in which she solved the deliverability problem. Janet, where are we finding you today?
I am in Memphis, Tennessee.
Memphis, Tennessee. Well, thanks for doing this, and thanks again for stepping in quickly. I'm going to get out of your way and let you take it away.
Okay, let me make sure I'm sharing my screen.
I'll let you know.
Okay. Okay, I think we're there, right?
There you go.
Okay. Hi, everyone. Before we get started with today's journey, I'd like to ask you a simple question. Do you believe you're a hero? Well, according to Joseph Campbell, we are all heroes of our own story. And there's no difference in that when you have a story to tell than if you're trying to tell a case study. So I decided, why don't we make this a little bit fun instead of just delivering a regular case study and put it in the form of the hero's journey. As you may know, the hero's journey always starts out in the ordinary world, and there's really nothing wrong with the ordinary world. I love a normal day. So it's those days when something goes wrong, when your child is sick, or you have a flat tire, or you lose your internet. That's an unordinary day. But my normal days are spent being a marketing strategist, an email marketing strategist for Terminix. And we are the largest pest and termite control company in the world. And my main responsibility is to convert leads into revenue. So I deal mostly with leads and some cross-selling to customers, but the main goal is to convert leads through the e-commerce channel. So one of the things that I have to do in my job, and I think Hamish was talking about this too, is I have to be able to articulate a story that makes sense to the marketers that I report to. And back in 2018 is when this journey started. I was really unable to do that. I mean, you can see from the chart on this slide that it's really a simple story with the email deliverability. It has a direct effect on revenue, where the more unengaged subscribers you have, then you have a lower inbox placement rate, and on down the funnel where you finally get to where the revenue is going to be reduced as well. So back when this was going on, I had a bad problem with the Gmail inbox placement rate. At that time, I've been doing email marketing for about 5 years now, and this was 3 years ago. So I still was pretty new, and I didn't know a lot of the nuances of email deliverability. And when I was sending more emails, I was getting more started sales. So there wasn't a really good data story to tell about why that wasn't a good thing to do. So in order for me to be able to communicate effectively, I need to have real data to back it up. So that's where the journey continues. I had what we call the magical mentor, where I had to start educating myself on all parts of email deliverability. One of the ways I did that was I actually was recommended to join the Women of Email. I know they're one of the sponsors of this entire event, and that's been super beneficial for me. So you can go there and you can talk to other marketers. You can post a question. There's even a thing like No Stupid Question Wednesday, which is great because when you're the subject matter expert within your own company, and like I said, I'm like the one email person who's trying to do everything. People look to me to be able to know how to fix every email problem there is, and that's not always easy to do. So, so joining that helped me. And then also we partner with Validity to do our email deliverability monitoring. And one of the things I was able to do is to get an in-depth analysis of Gmail performance from them. So the other thing that Validity offers that is really helpful is they have like a weekly report that comes out automatically. Every auto-generated email comes out every Monday morning, where I can see how my major ISPs are performing. And I started using that as kind of like a report card. So here's where you crossing the threshold. This is where I think it's a little bit different than what we may give ourselves credit for. A lot of times when we get more knowledge on a topic, you start getting ideas, you start getting a hunch, you start getting intuitive guidance. Like from my own research, I was able to think, well, the main thing I need to do is work on building a strategy of engagement. So I decided to listen to that, and I had to figure out how to make it happen. It's one thing when you know what you want to do, but it's another thing to know how you're going to do it. I did not receive a gemstone in the shape of a giant piece of jade, but I did have a friend that worked with me on email who her name was Jade, and she was the person who is really fantastic with all the data that goes on at our ESP. I currently use Cheetah Digital's marketing suite. I wanted to be able to bring in just the engaged customers into my data segment, but I didn't really know how to do that. But she was able to build a calculated date field. So every morning, this field goes through the whole leads table and only identifies the people who have opened or clicked an email in the past 6 months. And I was able to add that calculated date field to my data filter. Here's where in step 7, when you get to your innermost cave, which is really kind of like your own head, I believe it's possible that you can start having doubts about making changes to your program, whether or not you should do it. But one of the things I realized here is that it's just a hypothesis. I mean, whatever inner guidance, thought, hunch you have is the formation of your hypothesis so that you can test it. And here's where I built the strategy to try to build engagement, the pillars of the strategy. Of course, the main one is what I was just talking about with the audience filters, trying to only bring in engaged consumers into my campaigns. But then I am able to segment my data based on like the product type or the service type they're interested in, whether it's pest or termite. So I set up a dedicated send cadence for those different segments. And I also used personalization where I could. So in this instance, it was more, the personalization was to make it easy for someone I added their email address to the end of the unsubscribe link. And that may seem counterintuitive, like why do you want to make it easier for someone to unsubscribe? But it just makes a better experience. And that way, as far as deliverability goes, they're going to be less likely to mark you as spam or mark you as a complaint. So I wanted to reduce those. And there's certainly other channels or other means to contact them. They can be called or text messages, SMS. So if they don't want email, that's great. And then finally, the last pillar of the strategy was to really monitor the data and see how it's performing. So the reward. This is where in every good journey, you feel like, oh, it's finally all come together and this is all I have to do. And like Steve mentioned at the beginning when he introduced me, this 2019 was a fantastic year. Like all these things happened for the better. Literally within weeks after making the change to the segmentation on the data filter with only engaged consumers, the Gmail and other Yahoo, Microsoft, all the inbox placement rates started moving forward, moving up. It only took 6 months to go from the mid-60s of Gmail inbox placement rate all the way to the mid-90s. And so that, and it even kept going beyond that. I mean, I literally stay around 100% inbox placement rate across all the ISPs now. The other thing that improved dramatically were open rates and click rates. And of course, just like the funnel showed, once that started happening, then the business results started coming in. So in the lead remarketing campaigns, which are a little bit tougher to get higher open rates and also to get the conversion, I had triple-digit year-over-year increase in those particular segments. So that was amazing. And then the other great thing for me was my confidence grew. It's like I had a test to do, I followed it through, and it made a difference for the business. And so in the middle, that was the prize. Winning the title from validity of being most improved email program, that was really great. And then they even selected us as MVP out of all the winners that year. So you think it's all good from there, but then the next step comes, the road back. So I remember sitting at my desk when I got the announcement about the award, it was like in January, late January of 2020. And I was like, wow, this is awesome. 2020 is going to be the best year ever. I'm just going to keep things going in a forward direction. You know, what could happen now? And so we all know everything happened in 2020. It changed a lot of things. So I ended up having a really good year. Like I was saying, the inbox placement rate remained steady. And I even after such a good year in 2019, I continued to have year-over-year growth in 2020. So what I noticed, and it was just kind of at first I noticed, is that the size of my segments kept going down. I was like, I wonder if there's something wrong. So I had to really like think back about what I had learned over the last 18 months of doing this strategy. And that is like my strategy itself was causing the list reduction because I was only pulling in people who had engaged in email in the last 6 months. So every time I was in a campaign, I was reducing the total universe that it would pull in. So I decided to test something I call the gear shift strategy. And you know, one of the things I've learned is that you always have to you don't want to keep things set in stone. You always want to keep looking at it. And one of the results too of all the work we had done was that we had a great sender reputation. And I think the value of that, of being so disciplined over all those many months and only sending to engaged consumers and earning such a good sender reputation, was that it paid off when I decided to try the gear shift strategy. So basically all that meant was I removed the criteria of having needing to have opened an email or clicked an email in the past 6 months. So I was sending a lot more emails, and I still kept the inbox placement rate at 100%. So I'm going to keep watching it, of course, because I know that won't last forever. But right now, as we move into, for pest and termite control, it's the peak season. I want to send as many emails as possible. It's like, you know, you want to fish while the fish are biting. So I'll just keep an eye on that and then tweak it as I need to, and just always pay attention to it. So that was basically the end of the journey for that. But I wanted to end this by saying the bigger lesson that I learned from this whole journey. Because I mean, email deliverability is important, but I think it's also really important in my role as an email marketer to believe in my own power, to believe in like my ability to solve problems, like whatever obstacles come up, that you know there's a way to go around them. And I was able to access that, which was really powerful. And I did that by 4 simple steps, which is to trust it, test it, verify it, and believe it. So trust that your intuition, your hunch, you're being guided in the right direction. Let it be the foundation of your hypothesis. Then test it. Use that hypothesis and test it, and then just keep it, keep looking to see what the results are, because that's how you then verify it. You can't just do a one-off test and say, oh, this subject line was 15% better, so I'll always use that subject line. I mean, you always have to be testing, and making sure that there are no questions behind the questions. I have a new director who just taught me about that, it's the results behind the results. So in this case, it was, my list size kept decreasing even though my inbox placement rate was up. And then finally, just believe it. Like, believe in yourself, believe in your own power. And then the next time somebody asks you, do you believe you are a hero? Then you can look them in the eye and say, yes, I am an email marketing hero. That's it.
Hey, that was great, Janet. Thank you. So we, of course, have questions for you.
Awesome.
And our first is Blair, who says, I've gone through a similar process of taking a 2M contact database and applying active engaged criteria. We're seeing great open rates, but click rates are declining. Could this be a deliverability problem? What can I do further to investigate?
Yeah, I actually can say I have to work on that as well. As far as like my open rates have continued, they stayed high. The click rates were higher. One of the things when I did the gear shift strategy and removed, I actually noticed that the open rate decreased slightly, but the click to open rate jumped up. So even though I had like new people coming into the campaign that maybe hadn't engaged before because they weren't being pulled in, And now once I got them to open it, then they were more likely to click. So you're right. Yeah, if you keep sending to the same people over and over, and they may open it, but then if they're not ready to engage, they're not going to click.
Okay, we have another one here. Is deliverability a moving target for you? Have you had to course correct as filtering changes?
Well, it's funny, like the deliverability actually has been super stable. Like, I mean, I've been staying at the 100% inbox placement rate for Gmail and all those other ones throughout this entire time. But I still have to see, improvement in bottom line results, because at the end of the day, most people, like when you're an email marketer, you care truly about deliverability. And now I can share that data story of how, with good deliverability, I have good results, but it still is just it's an ongoing thing. It's not like you can set it and then forget about it. You have to just keep monitoring it and keep tweaking it. And I think that's why having like a flexible strategy where you are actually constantly testing about how you're doing your filters. Not drastic changes that would, jeopardize a campaign, a major campaign. But for me, like I was talking about, these are lead remarketing campaigns. So I have a little bit more flexibility because, overall leads, it's not like a customer campaign. I wouldn't do this on my customer campaign, but with the leads, I can do more testing.
Well, also when you learn about, getting past not just dealing with who's engaging, because as you said, you were diminishing your target audience, but are you also expanding segments and are you approaching it in that sense as well? Who you are going to target, is that going to evolve as you move forward, or how much changed are you looking at?
Yeah, I mean, segmentation for me in my campaigns, like the segmentation that always works the best are the ones that are like the really focused audiences that you can set up a triggered campaign. It's harder, you can only segment based on the data values that you have. So, if I knew, say, somebody was interested solely in spiders, I could send a more spider focused email, but I don't have that information available to me. So a lot of it's just kind of a little bit of a guess and trying to like think of different ways to segment. So for me, like I'm going to segment, among the two major pest types I have. And then also I do like messaging based on seasonality and different things like that to try to make improvements.
Right. Well, Janet, thank you again. That was really great. And as usual, this, wonderful presentation.